First one first? Yeah.
Can open up your PowerPoint. This is check it out. Does it work?
Yeah, I had to like point around, but we worked through it.
When you're ready.
Alright, so I just want to preface with this, with like, I truly believe everything they're going to say during the speech. And that sounds weird saying it at the beginning, but if you remember that to the end, you'll be like, alright, he's passionate about this. Alright? So now, this is where it gets weird. You're all magnificent, beautiful, awesome women. Alright? You too. Like, alright, I'm gonna go around the room and make eye contact to justify this, alright? They're all, I truly believe that, alright? So, like, I mean, you're college age, so you're, like, young and, like, somewhat innocent and naive, but you've, like, made the high school mistakes of being, like, dumb, and you're, like, past that, you're mature, alright? You can date, like, up in the age range a little bit high, and it's not weird. You can date down, and it's not weird. Anyone that, like, dates you, regardless of where they are, if you're like, oh, I'm dating, like, a college-age chick, it's, like, the coolest thing. Like, if you're in high school, you're like, wow, like, that's awesome. But if you're, like, a little, you know, alright? And you're not even, like, the most beautiful yet. There was a 2010 QVC survey that said, like, you max out at beauty at 31. So, like, you still have your best years ahead of you, alright? So now, basically, I want you to use that to lead by example and basically into a more fuel-efficient world, alright? Now, if you did this, you could basically save the world and all future generations forever, alright? Now we're gonna get into why right here, okay? Now, I have a car, and it's super cool, but I don't really drive it as much because it uses up a lot of gas, and there's just better ways to get around, alright? I use mopeds and bicycles and everything. And when I was in high school, I did a project on fuel-efficient vehicles and like things like that, which led me into this speech that I'm giving today. And basically, alright, so we all know about global warming, right? That exists. And we basically know that it's bad, right? The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, said that it is. Like, that's like, you know, they're basically, if it continues at the rate it's going, there will be like less people that die from heat or cold exposure, but then because there's more heat, there's going to be significantly more tornadoes, and those people that live through the cold will probably die from extreme weather. So it's not really working out. Now, if you look at this graph, this is like how the distance that like cars are used in travel. Like this is like the amount of Chinese vehicles over the years, and like this is another graph that seems to go up, and that's relating to the use of cars, right? Now, if you notice, they all kind of seem to go up rather dramatically around the 1980s, or like, you know, basically when cars like started to really get popular, and then, sorry, if you look at this is like the global, this is global water temperatures, this is global air temperatures, and then there's one in between that I had to get to, and this is like the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, and if you notice, it all goes up around the same time. Now this speech isn't about that, alright? It's not about that cars cause this, which they probably don't. Like, they probably play a role in it, but they probably don't cause it completely. But we can assume for the sake of this speech that they have a part that we can try to prevent, alright? So basically, like, how are you guys involved in saving this? How are you guys involved in making this better? So in the late 70s, Australia, there was like a spike in gas prices, and then like no one drove anymore because it was too expensive, and there's just like a significant increase in biking. And that lasted for a while, and then eventually gas prices came back down, and then bikers hung out for a while, and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. But then like suddenly, like a lot faster than anyone expected, they dropped significantly. When they did that, were like, wow, that was like a lot faster than we expected. Like, what happened? And they looked at the statistics, and they found that like it went like this, and women fell first, and then men were like a little bit slower, and then they followed. And they were like, so basically, like, they couldn't say it straight out as much as they wanted to, but basically they felt that women controlled like whether or not men biked around, and they like played the key role in that. And like, if you are a man, which none of you are, but I can tell you, basically, myself included, every man does majority of what they do to try and impress you people right here. Like, you remember the eye contact thing that I did earlier? It's coming back. You guys specifically, right? And basically, like, you have a lot more power than you seem to realize, all right? So I mean, what happens if you were to just sort of like keep at the rate you're going and be like, oh, like the guy with the really big truck who, I don't know, it has like the thing that hang down at the back, you know, how come he's getting all the dates or whatever? There's going to be two things that happen, all right? There's going to be two awful things. Basically, the complete destruction of our climate and the Earth, all right? And everything as you know it will be completely changed forever. We'll live underwater, and we won't see the sun anymore. And then there's going to be a second thing. Douchebags are going to rule the world, all right? Like, I don't know, it's not as apparent to you guys, but there are guys out there that only live to impress you, and they're like hollow shells of men that have no respect and all other men hate, all right? And I don't know, it's not as easy because they put on the show for you. It's all right if you like miss over it a little bit, but they're going to hurt you, and that's bad. And we just want to prevent that by all means, okay? But if you start changing your attitude and be like, oh, like maybe we should go biking everywhere, and like that guy has a sweet bike, I guess. I don't know what that looks like, but we should go and date him, I guess. You'll literally save the planet. You literally, remember at the very beginning when I was like, oh, like I believe this? This is the part that I'm talking about, all right? This is what I wanted to re-emphasize. I truly believe that if you guys go out and start, I don't know, favoring the walker and the bicyclist guy, that like you could save the planet and then have healthy, happy generations in the future that will benefit everyone. So I mean, if you guys start to do better and start to do more favorable means of transportation, men will follow you. We're smart, we're brilliant, but we're not terribly, we're pretty dumb as well. Like, you know. So if you guys can just go out there, just do your best to do that, favor the guys, that would be awesome. And I mean, if you did this, and then like we had a like magical breakthrough in technology and you live to be 1,000,000 years old, you could look down on like your future generations and your great-great-grandchildren and be like, save the world through being sexy. Pretty cool. No big deal or anything. Anyway. Yeah. Thank you. Oh no, wait, do you guys have any questions about that? Is there anything I can clear up? I am the only guy here. It's really nice to be the only guy in this class because I can just make some generalizations that are pretty helpful in a speech. I don't know, do you have any questions? There are some other pictures that I forgot because I didn't write it down on my cards. That was dumb. I'm sorry.
Do you think it's more attractive if a girl